Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of Banditland Boulevard. Game 4 recap. Trevor Howard, Tony LaMonica here with you on this great show. Recapping another victory. You see the title right now. What are the three most certain things in life? Death, taxes, and beating the Toronto Rock. The Bandits start off 4-0 for the 15th time in franchise history, this time beating their arch rivals down the QEW. The Toronto Rock 15 to 13. Who would have thought that Toronto coming into this house 0-4 would lead most of the game? But the Bandits are going to be the champs. The champs are going to do champion things, and they're going to always find a way. They're going to rally back. They're going to get the victory. The Bandits take this one 15-13 in a really back and forth game. Home game, almost a sellout, 17,000 plus. Tony, how are you feeling there being in the arena? I was producing the game on WGR Sports Radio 550, so I couldn't be in the building, but I was there talking to Dave Buchanan, talking to Gertler during the game. They were going through the emotions. Tony, how are you feeling during that game, and how do you feel after now being 4-0?
Well, during the game, I was a little worried at the moment because of how the game was panning out. I mean, Toronto was right off the gate coming at us full force, with the 2-goal lead, making a stand and saying, "Well, we understand you're undefeated. We haven't won a game yet. We have got to make a stand here now." But again, they ran into a brick wall with the Buffalo Bandits, how they were playing as a championship team should always do, no matter the animosity or the challenges that they face. They have got to buckle down, and they came back in rare championship form and defeated Toronto by a withstanding of two, and they did great. Afterwards, there's concerns maybe for what mistakes were made during the game, and we could talk more about that as we go along in the show. But my humble opinion, we've got to really buckle down defensively because we gave up way more than we expected. But other than that, I think all around team efforts and team victory.
Yeah, it was a classic Bandits versus Rock shootout. That's what I really took away from the game. Back and
Absolutely.
forth, 28 combined goals between the two teams.
Mm.
Definitely a classic Bandit versus Rock showdown there. Great shootout, great crowd, and a great show put on for the crowd. And if you look at the shots on goal, this is what kind of made me check it twice, because when I'm looking at the shots on goal, the Bandits out shooting them by 20, 57 to 37, and winning 21 out of 31 faceoffs and going two for
Go
one
Connor
or two,
Farrell.
2 for 5 on the power play. Connor Farrell doing Connor Farrell things in the faceoff dot. I would have figured the Bandits would, smoke these guys, but you got to give credit to some of those Toronto shooters. I mean, you had Dowick was really fine in the back of the net. Cameron
Sure was.
Bushi, I know Justin Martin, the other Justin Martin that plays for Toronto, scored his first goal of the season, and Mitch DeSnew scoring his first goal of the season against his
Yep.
former team, despite being injured. Toronto said, "I don't care. We're not going to lay down, especially against our arch rivals." So I tipped the cap a little bit to Toronto there. Um,
Hmm.
the other thing I took away from this, not Matt Vince's best game at all.
No.
I mean, there was one goal, I think it was the Justin Martin goal, where he had it full control and it just kind of went through his legs and squibbled into the back of the net there.
Yep.
Looking like he had full control of the ball. Um, Obviously didn't. Those are the nights that I think Matt Vince wants to have back.
Yeah, Matt Vince again was struggling a bit in the beginning with the score being tied 5-5 after one. But again, maybe this could be signs of him aging. We don't know. But a lot of the guys, a lot of the people in the stands, if I may say, I've been hearing, "Oh, this is it. He's finally washed up. This is the real Matt Vince we're finally looking at." I go, no, he's having an off game. You've got to understand, goaltenders are not perfect, and they're going to face difficulties in maintaining consistency. And you don't expect them to stay under 10 goals per allowed per game. So this is something that we see the more human form of Matt Vince of, hey, I'm still a goaltender, but I'm not playing at my absolute best, but I will play good enough to help win these guys their game. And they did. So they squeaked by 15-13. still having the faith in their defense and still having Matt Vince doing what he does best, and that's stop the ball.
I'll tell you what I love seeing. The Bandits still coming out with a victory. The Bandits staying undefeated and keeping the Rock at an 0-5 winless record. I'll tell you, that's what I love seeing. And you got to
Yeah,
tip your cap a little bit to the Bandits offense. More specifically, number 4, dude, Ian McKay still leading this team in goal scoring. This is the second time this season where Ian McKay has punched in, potted in 5 goals in the game. He did it in Ottawa and he did it in Buffalo against the Toronto Rock. And Ian McKay looks like a man on a mission. He is on another level right now. I know that he recently lost his stepdad to
yeah,
cancer, and he was playing for a lot more than just a Bandit victory that night. He had the little sticker on the back of his helmet. Uh, I couldn't think of a better player or a better night for a player than a guy like Ian McKay. I mean, he was out there. It seemed like every single shot he took somehow, some way ended up in the back of the net. He was the one that really owned Nick Rose on Saturday night and couldn't be more proud. You look at the points too. Dane Smith throwing up another silent 10. Ian McKay leading with 13 shots on goal. He also led in turnovers caused with 3. Ian McKay, Dane Smith, Josh Byrne, man, Tehoka Nanako, can we talk about that turnaround twirling goal that he had falling backwards? That's what, Tony, 3 straight games where Tehoka Nanako had probably an ESPN top 5 goal. Uh,
absolutely.
your starters were really contributing. You were picking up the pieces of Matt Vince. The offense was picking up the pieces for the defense that struggled a bunch in that game. And all the way around, the whole team clutched up at the end. When it was 13-12, Matt Vince made some big saves there at the end of the game. Defense made some big turnovers there at the end of the game. Johnny T calling the timeout to set up Chase Fraser's tying goal with a minute 13 to go. Nick Weiss, who, trust me, we will talk about on this episode of the show,
Sure.
not only getting, the meme factor of what he did to Billy Hostrauser, but also potting in the game-winning goal there in crunch time at the end. Again, causing Banditland to pretty much blow the roof off of that place. You see the pop when he scored that goal. You knew, I kind of had the feeling that the game was over despite there being 30 plus seconds left to go in the game. It was a complete team effort. Maybe not in the first half. Offense even struggled a little bit. Nick Rose was kind of dominating there in the first half, but 5-5 after one. You knew you had the sense that it was going to be a shootout between these two teams. Every time the Bandits were to take maybe a 1-goal lead, Toronto would score right back.
Yeah,
They struggled a bit putting them away, but in the clutch, maybe around 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, they all came together, goaltending, defense, offense. They ended up winning the game. They're doing what championship teams do. If it looks bleak, maybe a minute 15 to go in the game, you're trailing by 1. I'm not sure. I wouldn't be confident in maybe any other team tying up that game. But the Bandits are the back-to-back reigning champs. They're going to do what they're supposed to do. They pull out the victory, and I'm going to credit them in that fourth quarter for rallying the troops and making it a team victory despite the shootout, despite the early struggles. It was a complete team win.
yeah. The Buffalo Bandits have really shown us the way of how a team works when you use one game plan instead of multiple individual choices. Is that they come together, they say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to just go with it and see if it works. And if it does, great. If there's flaws, we'll fix it. If it doesn't work, we'll change it. But the way how the Bandits have been playing as one this year, obviously going off to a great 4-0 start, like you mentioned before. Um, the offense has, I don't know, been over 10, 12. What is it? Average of 13 goals per game at
Yeah, they've
least,
been
easy.
dominant, dominant.
Okay, so that's great for the offense. Defensively, still good. Had one bad game, no worries. Still 4-0, not bad, but we got to fix things. Goaltending wise, it's the same as defense. If one thing is off, the goaltending is off. But again, we cannot point any real fingers to anybody yet because they haven't lost a game. Now there's things to fix, I get, and the little tweaks to make it, smooth again, like a nice ride. But other than that, hey, a very valiant team win. It was a tough one, and we were expecting this. But the Bandits were on top. They did what they had to do to come home with the victory, and we have a new game to look forward to next week.
I mean, definitely. No one said it was going to be easy,
Not easy at
winning
all.
every single game this year. You knew that you were going to run into a trap game, a hungry team. I don't think there's any
Yep.
team in the league that's hungrier right now, more desperate than the Toronto Rock. They had to make a statement with all those injuries. They're looking at 0-4. They're looking at the undefeated team that they really seem that they can't beat to save their lives in the Buffalo Bandits. They came more than prepared. And that's why I said you got to tip your cap to those guys because they really came out and they said, I don't give a crap if we're 0-4, if you guys are 4-0 or 3-0, if you're undefeated, whatever. We're going to come in and make you guys earn this victory. They 100% made the Bandits earn this victory. Gave Matt Vince the most struggles he's had all year long. Gave the defense some headaches too. Uh,
Hmm.
when I say headaches, you know, I can literally quite I can quite literally mean a headache. The game was very physical, including a fight that, Barstool took and rolled with this one. This went viral all over social media. The fight between Elijah Gash, son of Super Bowl 2000 champion Sam Gash, I believe his name
Yep,
is, who played with the Baltimore Ravens. I think he was a fullback when they won it in 2000.
that's
Former
correct.
Buffalo Bill too, Sam Gash. So, he's had some Buffalo ties. Elijah Gash looks like he hits Chase Fraser. It looked like it was up high, didn't have the ball, and possibly from behind. Tony, would you say?
Um, in the perspective of the view of that hit, it's still, no matter what, anything towards the helmet is still considered high. Like the Kyle Buchanan where he came across the stick
Yeah,
right on him, and that was clear 5 minute major because he literally was going for the head.
yeah, they
Now
got the
for the
five
hit
there.
on Fraser, um, yes and no. I could be like a agree to disagree type of hit, but in the words of how fast that hit, um, it's a 50-50 choice. It's either you think it was too high or was going for the injury type hit, or it was a clean hit and it was a shoulder to shoulder hit. So the only thing I can think of is that you want to hit people, hit clean with the shoulder. You want to be a jerk about things and try to take somebody out of their game, not out of the game, but out of the career, then you go for the head. But other than that, that's like, again, I'd say that was an iffy call both ways if you think about it. I couldn't even fathom about the fact of how that looked and how bad that could have been.
Yeah,
But Chase got up. He didn't even let it phase him. And then he came back with an open technical ice hit back in
yeah,
our own zone to
yep.
make a statement saying, "You hit me, I hit you back. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes," type thing. That's what he usually would say.
Right. Elijah Gash came across the middle. I don't know. I got a little concerned when I saw Chase's head kind of recoil. His neck kind of went this way and his head kind of bounced that way.
Right.
So I don't really I think he timed it too early. If the ball landed in his stick maybe a half a second quicker, that would have been the cleanest hit I've ever seen. But he got
Right.
there before the
Which would
ball
have been
got
fine.
there. Zach Belter saw that. He saw that he interfered and hit him in the back. So he went to go step up for his players, and we know the outcome of that. All it took, I mean, Belter got a couple lefts in there, and Elijah Gash threw one right, hit him in the chin. Looked like
Yep.
maybe the right
Lights
jaw.
out.
Night. Zach Belter went down, and yeah, the the building went silent. You could hear a pin
Yep,
drop in
sure
that
did.
building.
And also the fact we got to see what his health state is,
Yeah.
especially with the concussion protocol after taking a shot like that to the face.
I will say, give him credit. He got up pretty quickly when the training staff got there, so it wasn't too bad. But you could see from one of the camera angles, one of his pupils goes this way, and the other one kind of
Well,
goes
not
this
only
way.
that, but when they were trying to take him off, it looked bad. Like he couldn't even walk. I'm surprised they even picked him up. They
Yeah,
should have waited until he would like even brought a gurney or something. Because if you do something like that, if somebody gets knocked out and they're unconscious still, but yet they're trying to say something, you got to make sure first before taking him off the floor. I mean, I kind of think that was a little bit on the like, man, you guys are really risking it because if God forbid something's really messed up with the man's head after you could have knocked something loose, that's not good. You got to keep him on the ground and possibly like carry him off, and because of the fact that it could be a health situation there.
yeah. The other thing that I don't have a problem with with the knockout. The thing I did have a problem with Elijah Gash was he hit him again when he was already down on the ground.
All
Did you
that,
see?
and then also taunting too, and he never got a penalty for instigating or taunting afterwards.
No, Zach Belzer got the instigator penalty, which
Right,
I
but
thought
which
was
I don't know
complete.
how because he went to go to. It could be a third man in, but not an instigating.
Yeah, I wouldn't even call it third man in because I thought he was just stepping up for his player. I thought
That
there should
too,
have been
yeah.
a hit from behind called on Fraser,
Yep.
and then Belter sticking up for his guy. He should have got 2 for rough or whatever it was. It should have been 5 each for fighting both ways.
Right.
Um, but yeah, he hit him again when he was already down in the fencing position, so his legs were stiff and he was straight out like that. Hit him again across the cheek,
Yeah, that was
and
cold. He already
then
knew he got him in the first shot.
he got up and was celebrating like he won the Super Bowl or something, and then went over to the crowd and told them to do sexual favors to themselves. Pretty much tell the
Huh.
fans to go f themselves and whatever. I'm like, all right, tough guy. Well, you thought that the rivalry was big. Then you just put a target right on your head because
Yep.
when these guys meet in February, I don't think Chase Fraser, Zach Belter, or any of these guys are going to be backing down from any sort of fight with him. And
No.
they know who the bounty's on. I think if there was a bounty on somebody, it's on Elijah Gash. And yeah, I will say this: social media picking it up very fast. They love it. They love good controversy. They love a good fight, and I don't have anything wrong with that. And if it
No.
grows the game, hey, maybe Zach Belter's a martyr, right? He takes a fall to grow the game or something like that. I've been seeing a lot of recognition just from that fight alone. Barstool Sports called it the knockout of the year, and it's only January 14th. So I'm like, hey, you know what? You want to grow the game? I guess this is a good way to grow the game, but. And even before that, Tony, we talked about in the preview how this would be a physical game, and we're going to get back into the stats and the scoring and stuff. But we got to talk about the fights first, and we got into the
Of
Elijah Gash
course.
one. Hopefully, Zach Belcher's in good spirits. I think he was maybe he. I know he was watching the Bills game, posting a lot of stuff on his Instagram story. So I mean, I think he is in good spirits. I would not be shocked if he misses this weekend against Philadelphia, and maybe
Correct.
we see a defensive call up from the taxi squad or something. But uh, Nick Weiss and Billy Hostauser, round two.
Oh my
I
God.
mean, if you remember the mic'd up video from game one of the semis last year,
Yep.
where Billy Hostauser jumps Nick Weiss with a busted open face, blood leaking down his shirt. He says, "I'm not done with you." Well, they were not done. You knew that
Nope.
they were going to see each other again. What started that, Tony? Was that like Nick Weiss maybe hitting him, or was it Hostauser starting it? But I remember seeing Nick Weiss so angry, livid, and out of his mind. He put Billy Hostauser in chokehold. He had
Yeah. At
one
the end,
hand
he
out.
did. Yes.
He had one hand out like that. He was like Kane from wrestling. Put him in the
Yep.
was choking him, getting ready to choke slam him. But I thought that was pretty cool to see Nick Weiss and Billy Hostauser round two.
Well, it was basically what it was. It was like a pull. I don't know if Josh Byrne and whoever, I can't remember. It was Brad Cree was the takedown, and then whoever was on top of Byrne. That's where Nick Weiss was like, "Nope, you're not going to." First, it was that. All right, let me slow down.
Oh, the one that
Dane
the one
Smith
that
was
Byrne
there
got called
first.
for? Yeah.
Dane Smith was actually there. He didn't grab anybody because he didn't want to get himself into penalty reasons. I get that. So Nick Weiss jumped in and says, screw that. I'm going to jump in and take over. The moment he did, Billy Hostauser came in and said, no, you're not touching Cree. You're not getting your boy out. You're going to be like, look, get away from this or we're going to fight. He said, screw you. We're fighting. So then he decided to throw it down and they started hitting each other. So then when that came down to the point, Nick Weiss looked like he did not want to quit. So he kept on going after him. And then that's where he was like, you know what? I'm going to make sure you are scared of me for life. But apparently, afterwards, when they were going back and forth, chirping at each other in the box, they wanted to go round three or round four or round five the moment they got out of the box. You know what? Let it happen. Let it happen. Make a stand for your team and protect those that you care about. Other than that, good for you, Nick Weiss, for stepping up to scumbags like that.
Yeah, for real. And he got another 10-minute misconduct there too. I think they both got tens
Yeah, they
for
both got tens.
yeah, so I think what kind of put a wet blanket on that idea for round three was the whole thing that happened with Belter. I didn't think they wanted something to repeat like that. Maybe
Mm-mm.
another knockout on the field. So maybe next time the Bandits see The Rock in February, maybe we'll see a round three between those two. But yeah, very physical. Referees, the one thing I do love about the Bandits is that they are undeniable. They don't let outside forces judge the outcome of a game. And it's been this way for at least a couple years. The referees, they are going to referee. They are nonsensical. They lack any sort of logic whatsoever. The call on Josh Byrne was complete crap. I think they called him originally on that play that led up to the
Mm-hmm.
fight. They called him for hold or something like that. listening to, being in the GR studio, listening in the booth. I mean, Gertler's ripping these guys over the air. And I mean, I heard the Kurt Angle "you sucks" at least 3 times. I heard the ref "you
Love
suck"
it.
chants like twice. And
Thank you, sound guy, for that.
I mean, it was something. Yeah, thanks to the DJ for that. Honestly, I think what was going on in that arena, it was a raucous crowd. They wanted to see those fans. It was like the Roman Coliseum. People wanted to see blood, and I mean, they saw fights, they saw physicality, big hits. I mean, Chase Fraser, you mentioned that one in the
Yep.
defensive zone, laying out his man. I thought that was big, and just straight back and forth. It's games like this where I tell people, if you're going to a Bandits game, go to a home game against the Toronto Rock. You are going to watch one of the best showdowns of all time, physical, high scoring, and it was nothing short. And also a Bandits victory in that regard too. Um, yeah, I mean, I can clown on the referees all day, but I think once we get John Gertler on the show, he can elaborate more a little bit on the job that those guys do. Because, man, how many delays, Tony, did we have? How many reviews that took maybe what felt like 15 friggin' minutes to review? I know every single goal under 2 minutes in the second and the fourth quarter, those had to be reviewed. But I mean, can we get a faster replay, a faster system as far as like reviews? That game felt like it was 3 hours long in length. And I'd be checking the clock sometimes. I'm like, oh, we're only halfway through the third quarter here. We got to start speeding this thing up. Like, what is going on? Um, we need a better system, but the thing I do love about the Bandits is that they are undeniable. They don't let outside forces determine the outcome of games. That is another recipe for being a championship team. Don't let the referees decide the outcome of a game. The Bandits are that undeniable, and that's what I've been telling a lot of people on Bandits Mafia, because I'm personally sick and tired of talking about the men in the striped shirts. I know you probably are too, and I think a lot of the other fans are.
Oh
The
yeah.
thing I love about the Bandits is that they're so good, they can face against two teams in the same night and still come out with a victory. And that is what championship teams should be made of. Going back to the scoring, though, when I ask you this question, I think this is even hard for me to answer. What do you think was the nicest goal of the night? Because not only did we see plenty of goals from the Bandits, we saw a lot of goals with some style points on there. I'm looking at two right now. The Ian
Okay.
McKay buzzer beater in the first quarter. That was a great
That's a good
sidearm
one.
shot
Yep.
with essentially no time left to tie the game at 5. I don't know. I probably want to go with this one, though. The Tehoka Nanakoke twirl and twist right into the back of the net. Great goal from him. You could also say Chase Fraser, too. Crunch time. Death taxes and beating Toronto. How about death taxes and Chase Fraser doing damage to the Toronto Rock, this time in the clutch? What do you think was the nicest goal of the night? Because you got 15 different ones to choose from here, Tony.
Well, you pretty much nailed it down to the final three. And I have to go with Tohoka's goal because of the fact that not only did he make a move while falling and still maintaining himself to not go in the crease before the ball got across that line, has to be the highlight number one of the goal of the night. For a man to have great hand-eye coordination, this the stick skills of being a lacrosse player, and to maintain balance while falling and still getting the clean shot off and still scoring your goal, that by far is your A+ number one goal of the game. It has to be to Tahoka, because the way how he just portrays himself with not only just confusing three defenders and still making a miraculous spin move and scoring past four goaltenders, if you want to say, against Rochester, but the fact that what he did against Toronto, he could score more goals than just whatever he had. He only had one goal, I believe, against Toronto that night. He could end up with an easy Hattie or at least near a sock trick for those type of goals that he needed to provide, but he didn't have to because the teams did so good of scoring without number one scoring multiple goals. But again, by far, my call would have to be Toka's goal would be the number goal of the night.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. The goals that really, I think, turned the game around for the Bandits, and you might be surprised that I say this, but it's not Chase Fraser's tying goal. The three that occurred in a minute 8 seconds when they scored 3 goals in a minute 8. Josh Byrne from Scanlon and Fraser to make it 11-10 Toronto.
Yep.
Then Ian McKay from Dane Smith and Kyle Buchanan to make it 11-11. And then Kyle Buchanan with the go-ahead from Ian McKay and Josh Byrne. Those 3 goals, when things were looking bleak for the Bandits, and if you remember, that fourth quarter started, the Bandits were already down by a goal, and they were on the penalty kill. So it was looking bleak from the beginning there. Dan Craig cashing in on the power play from Corey Small to make it 11-9. But those
Yep.
3 goals from the Bandits in a minute and 8 seconds, Josh Byrne, Ian McKay, Kyle Buchanan, that was when I started feeling, thinking to myself, okay, I think the Bandits are going to come out with the win here. And also, special teams. Now, it may not look like the Bandits did amazing on the power play. They went 2 for 5. But if you remember in that second half, Tony, that huge 5-on-3 that the Bandits killed, that 2-man advantage that Toronto didn't even come out with a goal, that
Right.
was the momentum swing right there. Johnny T, I believe, picked up a bench minor for unsportsmanlike. I don't remember the call off the top of my head before that, but they got on a 5-on-3 there. Let me check and see where exactly that was.
It
They
has to
did
be like
pick
a
up,
bench minor or whatever. After the
yeah,
first
they
penalty
did.
was called, then it was him trying to explain why, and then he was just talking to the refs. And I don't know, I can't remember what the call was, but a lot of people are wondering like, what did he say to the refs to get a bench minor after trying to explain? But it's like kind of like baseball. You can't challenge balls and strikes. You got to basically be like, all right, he struck out. You can't really challenge it, even though you know for a fact it wasn't a strike.
And you can't talk so much to the point to where it's delaying the game. I think the
Right.
referees probably already explained it to JT, and JT just kept going after him to the point
Yep.
to where they had to get the game going, so they called him for a bench minor. But it was a 2-minute 2-man advantage. It was a 2-minute 5-on-3, and the Bandits killed that off completely. That was what swung the momentum. And I remember listening to Steve Bermel in my ear during a commercial break. He said, "We just killed that off. Bandits are going to win." That was what he said to Gertler. He's like, if they killed that off, this is the game for the Bandits. That the Bandits are going to win this game, and they definitely did. And I was feeling the same exact way. And what really was the insurance was, yeah, those 3 goals in the fourth. Byrne, McKay, Buchanan. I knew deep in the back of my mind, the universe is not going to let Mitch DeSnoo be the game-winning goal in this game at home. Give the Bandits their first loss of the season. Chase Fraser comes in on a great pass from Dane Smith. And Nick Weiss, who looked like he was running out of gas, was just bumbling, stumbling into the zone, shoots where we tell people to shoot when you're shooting on the Toronto Rock goaltenders. Shoots low, cashes in, 14-13, and then Dane Smith with the icing on the cake to make it 15-13. Sent the fans home happy, and just an all-around amazing. If you like back and forth game with a little drama here and there, maybe some fisticuffs and maybe some big hits, go back and rewatch this game because it was definitely one for the ages. And I'm ashamed to say that I was not in attendance for this one, but going back and watching the highlights on YouTube, it's you feel the atmosphere of Banditland through the screen that you're watching it in. And I'm just picturing myself there because I know exactly what those games are like live. And I know, when the fans, and also what was going on with the fans, Tony, in Banditland. We normally don't see fights in the stands, but animosity was heating up there. We had some blood boiling, especially in my section, usually where I'm usually sitting in 106.
Mhm.
I'm seeing reports. I'm hearing in my ear from Bermel and Gertler that fans are getting thrown out. We don't like seeing that. I mean, if you want to talk your shit, talk your shit. That's fine. The usher is not, unless you're saying derogatory things. The usher is not going to throw you out of the arena for talking shit to another fan. They're not. You must
No.
have been doing something. Something must have been said. Fights were happening in the stands. This is kind of like 1994. If the Bandits and the Blazers with the fights in the stands. You normally don't see that with Bandit fans, but just an insane game all the way around. I'm not really sure what was going on there, but
I
hey,
can explain.
okay, go for it.
I can definitely explain why. Well, the one reports where I found out was a Toronto fan hit a Bandits fan, basically punched a Bandits fan because of the choice words, whatever was discriminated against each other, and the Toronto fan threw the first punch. Now, in self defense, the Bandit fan obviously fought back, and they were both kicked out, or both. I think the Toronto fan was kicked out because of his negligence and for his ways of kind of like the peaceful way of trying to calm the conversation down. But he went to the point where you do something stupid, you get thrown out. That's basically number one. That was the first report, and we found that out because I was I didn't see it for myself, but rumor has it that was the case. Now, for the ushers, they came to our section, and I can explain this and I can say this humbly.
You're in 119, right,
They
Tony?
were they were mad at the group that we were with, basically for pushing on the glass or tapping on the
I
glass
heard about that.
because
Yeah,
about the cameras setups or whatever, and they
for
told us if
TSN.
we did it again, we'd be kicked out. Now I basically was the voice of the voiceless, and I said, look, if you think we're the ones causing the problems, there's a whole you're going to go kick out all the fans in row 1 and 2 because it's a sporting event and they can't touch the glass or they can't tap on the glass or they can't cheer their team on, or if they push the glass I can understand because of camera views and whatever. But I distinctively said to the usher, who was a woman, and I kept my peace in a yelling format, but I didn't swear at her. And I said clearly this: "Thank you for letting us know. It will not. It won't. Whoever did it, it won't happen again. End of story. Have a good night. Thank you." And I said that in a professional but to the point. Don't yell at someone you think who did it unless you have the proof to provide it.
Yeah, that's how
That's
you
the only thing I
de-escalate
got
a
upset about
situation.
because she looked directly at me and I said, "Look, if you saw me do it, I'll take full responsibility of it. But if I didn't do it and you tell me that I did, then we have issues.
Yeah,
Other than that, I'm very cool with what they said, but I said it right back in the tone of a voice that they told me says it won't happen. Thank you. Have a good night." Basically, that was it.
I mean,
I didn't
banging on the
swear at them or
glass,
nothing.
though.
But I can't stand the fact of if you didn't do anything and you get blamed for something, that's kind of like,
Yeah,
wow, are you
yep,
sure it was me? Like, who
yep.
was it?
I mean, I've
But
been at
I
sporting
love the
events.
post that they said, if the box heads get kicked out, we riot. Thank
Yeah,
you for
love
I
that.
don't know if it was Jake or was Matt, whoever said it. Thank you for defending us.
I mean, somebody informed me. I might just be ignorant to the topic, but banging on the glass? Are you kidding me? Like fans
Like
can't do that?
tapping
Give me
on
a
it.
give me
That's
a
it.
freaking break. Like, okay, so I understand the whole camera thing, but I don't at the same time because the camera, they got the little hole in the glass. They could just put the
Right.
camera lens through that. Shaking the board should be irrelevant. It shouldn't mess with the cameras at all. And then you have the
I don't know,
overhead
but we
shot
were told.
where there's no glass there at all. I don't see, I don't I heard about that and I was thinking, what the hell am I reading? You can't hit the glass in the arena. Go back and watch the Sabres tape from when they won the President's Trophy and, highlights from that season. The glass was almost shaking and bending all the way down to the ice. The fans were so much into the game. The amount, if that is true, uh, boy, have changed. And
Yeah,
this is why, I mean, at least for Sabres games, I'm not talking Banditland. Banditland's always rocking 24/7. But
sure is.
this is why when people go to the Sabres games, they call it KeyBank Library. Not allowed to have fun, not allowed to be loud, or else you're going to be thrown out. That's BS. Someone needs to look into that. That's garbage. But yeah, if the whole thing is true about the Toronto fan too, you hate seeing that. I had a hard time believing that Bandit fans would start something, but you never know. Uh, you know, Alcohol could have been
It's
involved or whatever. But if it is the Bandits fan base that is starting this garbage, stop, cut it out. I'm serious. You're allowed to cheer on your team. Don't be
right.
stupid. Don't be stupid. I mean, we're all here to root for the Bandits, right? You don't see the rest of us throwing beer, throwing punches at other fan bases. Sure, I can give the guy shit in front of me for saying go rock, go whatever. I can tell him to sit down or go back to Toronto and do all those cliches. That's fine. I'm not gonna throw a punch. I'm not gonna throw a beer. I'm not gonna throw an elbow at him. The fans are gonna do the fan thing. If it is a Bandits fan that's starting this stuff, that's BS. And how about instead of doing that in the stands, we watch the Bandits and we celebrate them going 4-0, and we're looking at Toronto going 0-5. And Elijah Gash being him, he can be happy that he won his fight. that might be the only win that Toronto sees all year. That might be the only victory that Toronto sees all year for all we know. And it's an Elijah Gash fight on the road. They're 0-5, Tony. They're looking up at the lights right now. It is hard to recover, especially in the unified standings. We're not talking Eastern Conference. I remember when Georgia, I know we mentioned this too. The Georgia Swarm
Mm-hmm.
started off 0-7 on the last year where we had an East and West division. The only reason they were somewhat close is because the East division was so crappy towards like that last wild card spot during that year that Georgia almost snuck in. You're 0-5 and you're Toronto. You're looking at the unified standings. Every other team is in front of you. Every other team has the head-to-head tiebreaker over you. It's going to be hard to leapfrog all of these teams. Toronto, for all we know, the Bandits could have just ended. Now, this is up for change because we still got 11, or sorry, not 16 games anymore. We got 13 more of these games to go for the Toronto Rock. I'm not saying that they're dead. It's just hard to recover from this. And the Bandits could have just closed the lid on that coffin of a season for the Toronto Rock.
Yeah, I believe it too, because after you got to ask yourself this too. After first 5 games and haven't won one, 13 straight is tough to even come back from. You basically have to be a well disciplined, uh, pedal to the metal. Don't lose anymore. Otherwise, guess what? Playoffs are you're there's no word of playoff benching. You're basically it's a rebuild year. So
I
basically
mean,
they cannot lose another game. They probably after losing to Buffalo was their nail in the coffin, like you stated.
and I remember the Bandits going 7-7 after losing an OT to Panther City last year. And
Mm-hmm.
we were saying they have to win out if they want a home playoff series or a home field quarterfinal matchup. The Bandits
Yep.
needed to win out, and they also needed some help from the Rochester Nighthawks. If you remember in that last week where the Bandits were playing the Desert Dogs, I believe, on the road for Tucker Out Night, the
Yes.
Nighthawks had to beat somebody to help the Bandits get that home field. So we're talking at 7-7. The Bandits won out, and they couldn't control their own destiny for a home playoff matchup in the quarterfinals. They needed other teams to help them out. Toronto, you're looking at this. If you're a Toronto fan or a Toronto player, you're looking at an 0-5 record. You don't even have a win yet.
Nope.
11-7 is probably on the borderline of we might host a home quarterfinal matchup, we might not, especially with the talent that's in the NLL this year. Ottawa, who's up and coming. Philadelphia, who kind of came out of nowhere. They're 4-1, and they're one of the most high scoring teams. You got these other teams that are fighting for playoff spots. Toronto, I don't know. I think the Bandits handle them well. They seem to beat them every single time they face against each other. I think the best bet for them, Tony, is they have to go 11-2 the rest of the way if they want a shot at a home playoff game. They've already dug
I
themselves
agree.
into this deep grave, and the Bandits, you look at the other side, the sky's the limit for these guys.
Oh
They have
yeah.
everything in front of them, but they also have everything behind them, which is, it could sneak up on them a little bit. They got a taste of humble pie, giving up 13 goals against Toronto, but they are undefeated. You don't want to let this slip away. You don't want to let this, the struggling defense, struggling goaltending spill into this week as they take on the Philadelphia Wings. That's the last thing you want. But the Bandits have proven the last 2 years, the last 3 years, we're we're a lock for the championship. We're a lock for a home playoff matchup. We're always a lock in the playoffs. The Bandits are going to do bandit things, and they're going to look at the tape and bounce back. I love that they made things a shitstorm for the Toronto Rock because if it's not the Nighthawks, it's the Rock as the number one rival for the Bandits, and to be able to put your first 4 games of the year, you beat Rochester twice and you beat Toronto once. I don't think you can script a much better start to a season. And the champions are going to do champion things. The Bandits are doing bandit things right now.
Yeah, I think the way that the Bandits are going to be going now and moving forward from here, I mean, yeah, you're going to be seeing Toronto later in the season. You can look forward to that when the time comes. But this team is a basic one game at a time. Who do we face next? What do we got to do to beat them and move forward from there? Yes, it's going to be a tough task, but beating Toronto and beating your little brother Rochester, that's huge for us. That's like our accomplishment of the year. and also I wouldn't say confidence boost, but it's something to be. It's like a sweet deal to have just to be a victorious on that day. So coming out of this game, especially a back and forth, could have gone either way. Victorious, and thank God that we did because I was like, well, the run was worth it. Now we have to get back on the saddle. We're still on the saddle. We're still moving forward. So I'm
Yeah,
very pleased with our outcome.
until proven otherwise.
That's
Until
right.
proven otherwise. Tony, who is your player of the game for this one? We can go through a whole list of players, but I think for me, it's no one on defense or goaltending, honestly, when that's been
Mm.
the staple of the team. I could man, staple of the team is tough too because the offense has been averaging 13 goals a game, but the defense has been making these games blowouts. Not the case this week. I will choose somebody on the offense. I'm going to go with Ian McKay, dude. I mean, this guy was playing for a whole lot more than just a victory on a Friday night. He was playing for something else. 5 goals, second time he's potted in 5 in a game this year. Did it in Ottawa, did it in Buffalo. Still leads the team in goals. I mean, Ian McKay looks like he's a man on a mission this year. And the fact that he's a transition leading the team in goals and leading the team in goals by a lot is nuts. And hopefully he can keep this up going into next week against Philly. But Ian McKay, 100% scoring that goal at the end of the first quarter was a game changer. It kind of sent momentum the other way. Ian McKay, with the way that he's been scoring, the way that he's been playing all the way around, pickpocketing players and driving the ball into the net. Ian McKay is my player of the game.
Yeah, Ian, like you mentioned before, um, losing his stepdad and playing with a purpose. That could be a good motivation to keep this championship team going, is that you got something to play for. Number four on the field, who had 8 total points and really being an outshine player so far this season after 4 games to get their fourth victory, and he scored 5 goals twice this season, shows faith and confidence that this team wants to keep Ian McKay forever on this squad, and
Yeah.
he put himself right in the right spot. And for fighting for your stepdad and for what he has gone through, and may he rest in peace of losing to cancer. Um, that's You see a difference in a person when they play for a purpose. And Ian McKay, I'm so glad that you said his name because I was going to say Ian McKay as well, who fights and believes in that, for family's sake and for his teammates' sake, who are considered family to him. Um, really stepped up and said, "Guys, you don't have to be the targets anymore. I want to be the target. I want them to come challenge me on a day where if there's nothing left, I'm going to be the last of the fuel in the tank to say I can push us through this." And Ian has really shown that he could do that every single game this from this season and from the past that he's contributed. But bravo on that choice, man. I mean, I'm almost getting emotional because of losing um, a parent too.
Yep.
Still hurts this to this day, and that just is inspirational to me. And I don't know if it's to those who also have lost their fathers or their mothers or whoever you want to, their parents. But regardless, that just shows heart, and that's huge for number four. And
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I was going to say that too, but I do have a player in mind who also deserves the gratitude of my words, of what I think, and that is Kyle Buchanan.
Yes.
I don't preach this. I probably haven't preached this enough about number 91, and that is the fact that he is a person of dedication who travels down multiple hours to be with the teams, to play for the team that he has grown as a family member to this squad, and for family to for a guy like Kyle who puts himself out there, who gets literally, I thought, crushed. And I'm going, no, he's not going to be ending his career like this. Who's got toughness in the small body that he is. He's like my size. He's like 5'9", 5'10", 180 pound to 200 pounder. And it's like you're going up against wolves who are feeding off the prey, and you just are not afraid of being the predator yourself. And he is unsung hero, you may say. No, I'd say he is the hero of this team, like the glue to hold this team together. And for that, for me, is the player of the game in my book.
Yeah, he's definitely one of them. What about Nick Weiss as an honorable mention too?
I
I
would
mean, a
say he
guy
would be an honorable mention, a man who
game-winning
sticks up for his
goal,
guys.
game-winning goal, gets into a fight. Gordie Howe hat trick, gets an assist, goal, and a fight all in the same game.
Yes, sir.
Nick Weiss. I mean, you talk about a guy who travels. I mean, this dude is doing like underwater oil rigging near Ottawa, and he travels the distance to practice with the team once or twice a week, and then travels down on a Friday or a Saturday to play a home game. He's a guy that puts in the
Yes.
blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah,
That's,
Nick
I think,
Weiss
a
has
big
really
reason
shown
why he
us.
is the assistant captain and why he plays the way that he does.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize.
Big, big for him. No, I think yeah, I think we ran into some internet stuff there, but yeah, dude, Nick Weiss is 100%, definitely an honorable mention for player of the game because he stepped up, got credited with the game-winning goal. Huge game for number 20. That's why he's an assistant captain for this team.
Yeah, true leader in form, and the way how he protects his guys, and just a standout gentleman outside of lacrosse too. You can't ask for a better all around player from him too, for being a great defenseman, transition, and also can score goals at will too whenever he feels like it. So kudos to you, Nick Weiss. Good job.
Bandits get the victory 15-13 over the Toronto Rock. They are 4-0. Toronto is 0-5, which sorry, not sorry. But yeah, I love saying that. That's absolutely phenomenal watching the Toronto Rock after the way that their season went last year, going 15-3, starting off the season right now 0-5. That's huge. Huge not only for the Bandits, but just to the fact that hey, we might not be seeing these guys in the playoffs come May, early May. We might not be seeing these guys late April, early May, which is it's going to be crazy to see. But you got some young and up and coming talent that could replace them. And grass isn't always greener on the other side. It's as green as it gets facing the Toronto Rock in the playoffs because it always seems like a guaranteed win every time these two meet in the playoffs. And if you can get through Toronto, that's pretty much an automatic championship appearance. And, I'm going to be careful what I wish for because I don't know, maybe to a team that replaces those guys is maybe a young and up and coming flashy Georgia or Philadelphia team that might really bring it into the playoffs. But yeah, it's definitely insane to see them go 0-5. But Tony, I think it's time to shout out our sponsors.
Guys, we'd like to thank our main sponsor. It's Mitchell's Tavern, located at 734 Sheridan Drive up in Tonawanda, New York. If you guys want the best beef and wick in town, mention the boys here at Banditland Boulevard. That over there is Trevor Howard, myself, Tony LaMonica. Go in there, and I guarantee you guys the food is amazing. The service is even 10 times better. They will treat you like family. They won't treat you like guests. They'll treat you like family. So go on in and check it out. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Herney's Journeys. If you guys want to book your next cruise line vacation adults only trip, contact Suzanne Pike at SuzannePike@Herney'sJourneys.com. Let us book your next new adventure. Also, we'd like to thank those on YouTube who've been following us. Give us that like and subscribe to our channel. It's called Banditland Boulevard for a reason. We talk about nothing but the Buffalo Bandits lacrosse. And also for those who listen in on every device known to man, on your phone, your tablet, your radio station, on Spotify, give us that 5-star rating, and to talk about more of your Buffalo Bandits lacrosse needs.
Well said, Tony. 15-13 final at the KeyBank Center. We are going to come out with the preview later this week. We're also going to get John Gertler on this week as well to
Let's
give
go.
us like almost a maybe quarter season recap of what's been going on with the team, how he's been doing. It's going to be cool to get Gertz on the show. Can't wait for that. So stay tuned for that. We got a lot coming this week, but we got 3 simple words to say. Everybody knows these words. Win or lose, we say these after every single episode. Tony, what are those 3 words?
We're going to do it quick like we do at the games.
You want
One,
me to say it like
two.
Swenny? You want us
Yeah,
to say it
what?
like Swenny? You want to say it like how Swenny says it?
Yeah, we'll do it like Swenny. Ready?
Yeah,
One,
let's do that. Ready?
two,
2,
three.
3.
Let's
Let's
go,
go,
Bandits.
Bandits.
Let's go, Bandits.
Let's go. Hey,
4-0, guys.
4-0 for the 15th time. This team is 33 years old. This is their 33rd season. The fact that these guys have done it
Awesome.
4-0 start 15
Doing
times.
for another 30.
It's pretty freaking phenomenal. So let's do it again. Let's go 5-0. We'll have the preview out for you on this very show. But let's go Bandits. Banditland
Let's go,
Boulevard. Trevor
Bandits.
Howard, Tony LaMonica signing off for now. Let's go Bandits, baby. Let's go.
Let's go.